Jake Miller wiped his sweaty palms on his uniform for the third time in 5 minutes. Today was the biggest day in human history, and somehow he was part of it. The 28-year-old diplomatic aide from Texas had never imagined he would be standing on Harmony Station waiting for aliens to arrive. The space station floated in orbit around the moon. It was humanity's pride, built just for this moment. First contact with another intelligent species. Jake looked out the large window at Earth hanging in the distance. His grandmother back home in Dallas would be watching this on television right now. Commander Ben Torres walked past, checking everything one more time. The tall military man had gray hair and worry lines on his face. "Miller, you ready for this?" he asked. "Yes, sir," Jake replied, though his voice cracked a little. He had been chosen for this mission because he spoke 3 languages and had good grades in school. But right now, he felt very small. Dr. Lisa Carter stood near the docking bay doors. She was the lead scientist studying alien life, even though no one had ever seen a real alien before today. Her brown hair was pulled back tight and she held a tablet computer in her hands. She looked calm, but Jake could see her fingers moving nervously on the screen. "The Krillian ship is approaching," announced the station's computer voice. "Docking, in 10 minutes. Jake's heart beat faster. The Krillians had sent radio messages to Earth 2 years ago. They said they wanted to meet humans and talk about peace. Their messages were translated by computers, but no one knew what they really looked like or how they acted. Amy Rodriguez, the protocol specialist, gathered everyone together. She was a serious woman with black hair and dark eyes. "Remember, we don't know their customs. Be polite but careful. Let them make the first move." The station shook slightly as the alien ship connected to the docking bay. Red lights flashed and then turned green. The air was good. Jake could hear his own breathing in the silence. The doors opened with a soft hiss. 2 figures walked through. Jake's mouth fell open. The Krillians were tall, maybe 7 feet high. They looked like giant insects walking on 2 legs. Their skin was dark green and shiny. They had 4 arms each, and their heads were large with big compound eyes that sparkled like jewels. They wore simple gray clothes that looked like robes. The first alien was bigger and had gold markings on its forehead. The second was smaller and had silver markings. They walked smoothly, almost like they were floating. Commander Torres stepped forward. "Welcome to Harmony Station. I am Commander Torres." The larger alien's voice came through a small device on its chest. The words sounded strange, like clicking and buzzing, but the translator made them into English. "I am Ambassador Zexhai. This is Cultural Attaché Velnara. We bring greetings from the Krillian Collective." Dr. Carter moved closer with her tablet. "Ready?" Jake watched her approach the aliens with interest. Without thinking, he stepped quickly ahead of her and pulled open the door to the conference room. "After you, Dr. Carter," he said with a smile. It was automatic. His grandmother had taught him to always hold doors for ladies. "A gentleman helps others," she always said. "Especially women and older folks." Dr. Carter nodded thanks and walked through. The Krillian delegation followed, but Jake noticed something odd. Velnara had stopped walking. Her big compound eyes were focused on him. She made soft clicking sounds that the translator didn't pick up. "Is everything okay?" Jake asked, still holding the door. Velnara tilted her head, studying him. Then she walked through the door, but slowly, like she was thinking hard about something. The tour began. Jake's job was to stay quiet and take notes, but his grandmother's training was stronger than his orders. When they reached the dining hall, he opened that door too, waiting for Dr. Carter and Amy Rodriguez to go first. Again, Velnara made those clicking sounds and stared at him. In the science lab, Jake held the door for 3 female technicians. Each time, the Krillian attaché stopped and watched him carefully. Her clicking got louder. Ambassador Zexhai noticed too. He spoke quietly to Velnara in their own language. The translator caught a few words. Behavior pattern and territorial. Jake felt confused. Was he doing something wrong? He was just being polite like his grandmother taught him. When they visited the medical bay, He held the door for Dr. Susan Park, the chief medical officer. This time, both aliens stopped walking completely. Velnara's compound eyes fixed on Jake. She made a series of rapid clicks and buzzes. The translator struggled, producing broken words. Control, access, dominance, claim. Dr. Carter looked worried. Commander Torres frowned. Amy Rodriguez checked her notes quickly, trying to figure out what was happening. The tour continued to the main conference room where the real meetings would happen. This was the most important door of all. Jake reached for the handle automatically, ready to let the ladies go first. Dr. Carter approached the door. Jake pulled it open with his usual smile. "Dr. Carter," he said politely. She walked through. Amy Rodriguez followed. Then Velnara stepped toward the door. Jake held it open for her too, just like he would for any woman. "Ma'am," he said respectfully. Velnara froze completely. Her forearms went stiff. Her compound eyes grew wide and focused entirely on Jake. The clicking sounds she made were so loud and fast that the translator gave up entirely, producing only static. Ambassador Zexhai moved quickly to her side, speaking rapidly in Krillian. The sounds were urgent, almost worried. Commander Torres stepped forward. "Is there a problem?" Jake still held the door open, not understanding what was wrong. He had just been polite. That was what good people did. His grandmother would be proud that he remembered his manners even when meeting aliens. But Velnara remained frozen, staring at him with those huge, jewel-like eyes. Her clicking continued, and Jake realized with growing worry that he might have just caused humanity's first diplomatic crisis. All he had done was hold a door. The conference room fell silent except for Velnara's clicking. Jake still held the door open, his hand starting to shake. Everyone stared at the frozen alien. Her forearms remained stiff at her sides, and her compound eyes never moved from Jake's face. Ambassador Zexhai spoke quickly in the Krillian language. His voice sounded concerned. The translator picked up fragments. Status report, behavioral analysis, threat assessment. Commander Torres cleared his throat. "Ambassador, is there something we should know?" Zexhai's large head turned toward the commander. "We request consultation time. Private discussion needed." Dr. Carter stepped closer to Jake. "Did I do something wrong?" she whispered. "I don't think so," Jake whispered back. But his stomach felt sick. What if his politeness had ruined everything? What if the aliens thought he was being rude somehow? Amy Rodriguez moved smoothly into action. Her job was to handle problems like this. "Of course, Ambassador. Please use Conference Room B. Take all the time you need." The two Krillians walked away together. Velnara moved stiffly like a robot. She kept looking back at Jake until they disappeared around the corner. As soon as the aliens were gone, everyone started talking at once. "What happened?" asked Dr. Park. "Did you see how she froze?" said one of the technicians. Commander Torres held up his hand for quiet. "Miller, tell me exactly what you did." Jake felt his face turn red. "I just held the door open, sir. Like my grandmother taught me. You're supposed to let ladies go first." "That's all?" Torres asked. "Yes, sir. I've been doing it all day." "For Dr. Carter, for Amy, for everyone." Dr. Carter frowned. "Jake, you have been holding doors for all the women. I noticed it too, but I thought it was nice." Amy Rodriguez was already pulling up security footage on her tablet. "Let me check the recordings." Dr. Pete Johnson arrived then. He was the station's expert on different cultures. He was a short man with a gray beard and kind eyes. "I heard there was a problem. What can I do to help?" "The aliens seem upset about something Jake did," Commander Torres explained. "But all he did was hold doors open for the women." Dr. Johnson's eyes grew wide. "Show me the footage," he said. "Quickly." Amy's tablet showed video from the hallway cameras. They watched Jake opening door after door, always waiting for the women to go first. Each time Velnara had reacted more strongly. "Look at her body language," Dr. Johnson pointed at the screen. "See how her posture changes and those sounds she makes?" The translator couldn't handle most of it, Amy said. It kept saying things, like control and territorial and dominance. Dr. Johnson rubbed his beard. This is very interesting and very bad. What do you mean? Jake asked. His voice was small and worried. Think about it, Dr. Johnson explained. We know almost nothing about Krillian culture, but Jake's behavior shows a clear pattern. He treats women differently than men. He controls who goes through doors first. But that's just being polite. Jake protested. To us, yes. But to them? Dr. Johnson shook his head. What if their society doesn't have different treatment for males and females? What if treating someone special based on gender looks like aggression to them? Dr. Carter sat down heavily. Oh no, Jake, you weren't being rude, but they might think you were claiming some kind of ownership over the women. Jake felt like the room was spinning. Ownership? I would never. I was just trying to be nice. We know that, Commander Torres said. But they don't. Amy checked her tablet again. The Krillians have been in Conference Room B for 20 minutes now. They're probably trying to figure out if Jake is dangerous. Dangerous? Jake's voice cracked. I'm the least dangerous person on this station. Dr. Johnson looked sympathetic. Jake, your grandmother taught you good manners. But manners are based on culture. What's polite in Texas might be threatening to an alien species. Through the window, they could see Earth hanging in space. Jake thought about his grandmother watching this on TV back home. She would be so disappointed if he messed up humanity's first contact with aliens just by being polite. What do we do? He asked. We wait, Amy said. And we prepare to explain human customs if they ask. In Conference Room B, the clicking sounds got louder. Sometimes they heard Zexhi's deeper voice joining in. The translator couldn't pick up anything through the closed door, but it sounded like an argument. Dr. Park brought coffee for everyone. Even she held the door for herself, not wanting Jake to cause more problems. He noticed and felt even worse. This is crazy, said one of the technicians. He was just being a gentleman. That's exactly the problem, Dr. Johnson said sadly. Being a gentleman is a human concept. We have no idea how other species handle social interactions between males and females. Jake sat alone in the corner, thinking. His whole life, he had tried to be helpful and respectful. His grandmother had taught him that good men take care of others, especially women who might need help. It wasn't about women being weak. It was about being kind. But now his kindness might have ruined everything. After an hour, the door to Conference Room B opened. Ambassador Zexhi came out alone. His compound eyes looked at each human, stopping on Jake for a long moment. We have discussed the situation, Zexhi announced. We require clarification about human behavioral patterns. Commander Torres stepped forward. What do you need to know? The young male? Zexhi pointed at Jake with one of his forearms. He demonstrates consistent access control over female humans. Is this territorial claiming? Does he hold dominance position over them? The humans looked at each other. Jake's face turned bright red. No, Dr. Carter said firmly. Jake doesn't control us or claim ownership. He was being polite. Polite? Zexhi tilted his large head. The translator struggled with the concept. Respectful, Amy tried. Helpful, kind. Zexhi made clicking sounds. Clarification needed. In Krillian society, controlling another being's movement indicates either mating display, dominance assertion, or protection behavior showing ownership, which applies to young male Jake. The room went very quiet. Jake wanted to hide under the table. None of those, Commander Torres said carefully. Jake was showing respect and kindness. Human males often help human females as a sign of good manners. Good manners, Zexhi repeated. The concept seemed to confuse the translator even more. Dr. Johnson stepped forward. Ambassador, it appears our species have very different social customs. Perhaps we should arrange a cultural exchange session to help us understand each other better. Zexhi considered this. Velnara remains in analysis mode. She observed threat patterns that do not match your explanation. More data required. Jake finally found his voice. I'm not a threat. I would never hurt anyone. I was just trying to be nice. The alien's compound eyes focused on him again. Define nice in human context. And Jake realized that explaining human politeness to an alien species might be the hardest thing he had ever tried to do. Jake stared at Ambassador Zexhi's compound eyes, trying to find words to explain something he had never thought about before. How do you tell an alien what nice means? Nice means. Jake started, then stopped. It means being kind to people, helping them, making them feel good. The translator made buzzing sounds as it worked. Zexhi tilted his head. You control female access to create positive emotions? No, that's not. Jake felt frustrated. I don't control anyone, I just hold doors open so they don't have to. But they are capable of opening doors themselves? Zexhi asked. Well, yes, but then why prevent them? Dr. Carter stepped in to help. Ambassador, Jake doesn't prevent us from opening doors. He opens them for us as a courtesy, a kindness. Zexhi made rapid clicking sounds. Courtesy requires clarification. In Krillian understanding, unnecessary assistance implies the assisted being lacks capability. Amy Rodriguez pulled up more information on her tablet. Ambassador, we need to understand Krillian social structure better. How do males and females interact in your society? Males and females? Zexhi seemed confused by the question. All beings interact equally. No behavioral differences based on reproductive function. Dr. Johnson wrote notes quickly. This was important information. So Krillian males and females are treated exactly the same? Correct. Equal capability, equal treatment, equal access. Deviation suggests biological malfunction or aggressive positioning. Jake felt his heart sink. In trying to be respectful, he had made the aliens think human women were weak or that he was being aggressive. Where is Velnara now? Commander Torres asked, conducting threat assessment analysis. She observed repeated patterns of access control by Jake Miller toward female humans. Data suggests either territorial claiming, mating display, or dominance assertion. It's none of those things. Jake said loudly, then caught himself. Sorry, I was just being polite. My grandmother taught me to help people. Grandmother? Zexhi's translator struggled with the word. Older female family member, Dr. Carter explained. She taught Jake social behaviors. Older female taught younger male to control other females? The alien sounded even more confused. Jake wanted to bang his head against the wall. Everything he said made it sound worse. She taught me to be helpful and respectful to everyone, especially ladies. Women. Females. Amy Rodriguez had an idea. Ambassador, would it help if we showed you more human social interactions? So you can see that Jake's behavior is normal for our species. Additional data would be beneficial, Zexhi agreed. For the next hour, they watched security footage from all over the station. The videos showed human men and women working together, talking, laughing, and helping each other. Jake wasn't the only one who held doors. Other men did it too. Sometimes for women, sometimes for men, sometimes just for anyone carrying something heavy. Observe. Dr. Johnson pointed at the screen. Human cooperation is complex. We help each other in many ways. But Zexhi focused on specific clips. Male humans demonstrate access control primarily toward females. Pattern is consistent across multiple individuals. He was right. The men did hold doors more often for women than for other men. It was such a normal part of human behavior that no one had really noticed before. This suggests systematic behavioral programming, Zexhi continued. Are human females considered inferior in capability? No, several people said at once. Dr. Carter stepped forward. Ambassador, human females are equal to males in all capabilities. We run governments, lead scientific teams, pilot spaceships, fight wars. Look at me. I'm the lead scientist on this project. Then why do males control your access to spaces? They don't control us, Dr. Carter said firmly. They offer assistance as a sign of respect. But assistance implies need. Why would capable beings need assistance with simple tasks? The humans looked at each other. The question was harder to answer than they expected. Dr. Johnson tried to explain. Ambassador, human. Courtesy evolved from our tribal past. Men were often physically stronger, so they developed habits of helping women and children with tasks that required strength. Opening heavy doors, carrying heavy objects, offering protection. Ah, Zexhai made understanding clicking sounds. Historical behavioral programming based on physical differences. Exactly, Amy said, relieved. But modern doors are not heavy. Modern human females possess equal physical capability. Why continue obsolete behavioral patterns? The humans were quiet. It was a good question. Jake spoke up quietly. Because it makes people feel good. When I hold a door for someone, they smile. They say thank you. It makes them happy. You perform unnecessary actions to create positive emotional responses? Yes, Jake said. That's what being nice means. Zexhai was quiet for a long time. His compound eyes moved between all the humans. Finally, he spoke again. Velnara requires direct observation. She must see these courtesy behaviors in context to complete her threat assessment. Of course, Commander Torres agreed. Whatever she needs. But, Zexhai continued, she remains in defensive analysis mode. Your explanation contradicts her observed data. She believes Jake Miller represents territorial threat to female humans. Jake felt sick again. What can I do to show her I'm not dangerous? Unknown. In Krillian society, repeated access control. Behavior indicates either claim of ownership or preparation for aggressive action. No alternative interpretation exists in our cultural framework. Dr. Carter had an idea. What if we let Velnara observe Jake in different situations? Show her that he helps everyone, not just women? Additional data may be beneficial, Zexhai agreed. But caution is advised. If Jake Miller continues access control behaviors, Velnara may interpret this as escalating threat. Amy looked worried. What happens if she decides he's a threat? Zexhai's response chilled everyone. Krillian protocol requires neutralization of threats to collective safety. If Velnara concludes Jake Miller represents danger to female humans, intervention becomes necessary. The room went silent. Jake realized that his grandmother's lessons about being a gentleman might get him in very serious trouble with aliens who didn't understand human customs. How long does she need for this assessment? Commander Torres asked. Analysis continues, but patience has limits. If threat level increases, immediate action will be taken. Jake looked out the window at Earth hanging in space. His grandmother was probably still watching the news coverage, proud that her grandson was part of this historic moment. She had no idea that her lessons about opening doors for ladies might cause an interstellar incident. He had to find a way to show the aliens that human courtesy came from kindness, not aggression. But how do you prove you're not dangerous to someone who thinks your niceness is a threat? Jake spent the night in his small quarters, staring at the ceiling. He kept thinking about Velnara's frozen posture and clicking sounds. Tomorrow, she would finish her threat assessment. If she decided he was dangerous, what would happen then? He called his grandmother on Earth. Her wrinkled face appeared on the video screen, smiling with pride. Jake, honey, I saw you on the news. My grandson meeting aliens. Hi, Grandma, Jake said sadly. Her smile faded. What's wrong, sweetheart? Jake told her everything. About holding doors for the women, about Velnara freezing, about the aliens thinking he was dangerous. His grandmother listened carefully, her wise old eyes growing concerned. Oh, honey, she said when he finished. You were just being polite like I taught you. I know, but they don't understand. They think I'm trying to control people or hurt them. His grandmother was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Jake, do you remember why I taught you to hold doors for ladies? Because it's the right thing to do? That's part of it. But remember what I always said? Jake thought back to his childhood. You said a gentleman helps others because he cares about them. That's right. It's not about women being weak or needing help. It's about showing that you care enough to make a small effort for someone else's comfort. But the aliens don't see it that way. Then maybe you need to show them, his grandmother said firmly. Show them what caring really looks like. After the call ended, Jake had an idea. If the aliens needed to understand human caring, maybe he could find a way to demonstrate it. The next morning, Dr. Carter found Jake in the station's small garden. He was watering the plants that grew under artificial sunlight. Jake, the Krillians, want to continue their cultural observation today, she said. I know. Jake finished watering a tomato plant. Dr. Carter, can I ask you something? Of course. When I hold doors for you, how does it make you feel? Really? Dr. Carter considered the question seriously. Appreciated, I suppose. Like someone noticed me and wanted to do something nice. Not controlled. Not like I think you can't do it yourself. Never, she said firmly. I know you're just being kind. Grace Wu, the cultural historian, joined them in the garden. She was a young woman with bright, intelligent eyes. I heard about your situation, Jake. I've been researching the history of human courtesy behaviors. Is it bad? Jake asked. Actually, it's fascinating. Human politeness evolved as a way to reduce conflict and show care in social groups. Different cultures developed different rules, but they all serve the same purpose, showing respect and kindness to others. Amy Rodriguez appeared in the garden doorway. Jake, they're ready for you. But first, we have a surprise. She led them to conference room A, where a large video screen had been set up. On the screen was Jake's grandmother sitting in her kitchen in Texas. She wore her best dress and had combed her gray hair nicely. I asked if she could join us, Amy explained, to help explain human family training. Ambassador Zexhai and Velnara were already in the room. Velnara still moved stiffly, her compound eyes tracking Jake's every movement. She made soft clicking sounds when he entered. Grandmother Miller, Commander Torres announced formally. Thank you for joining us. Jake's grandmother smiled at the aliens on her screen. Hello there. You must be Jake's new friends. I'm Martha Miller. Zexhai tilted his head toward the screen. You are the older female who programmed Jake Miller's behavioral patterns? Martha laughed, a warm sound that filled the room. Well, I wouldn't put it quite like that. I raised Jake to be a good man. Define good man in human context? Zexhai requested. Martha's eyes grew serious. A good man helps others without expecting anything back. He's kind to people who need kindness. He protects people who need protection. He shows respect to everyone, especially women and children and older folks. The translator worked hard to convey her words to the aliens. Velnara made questioning clicks. Why especially women and children? Zexhai asked. Because the world can be hard on them sometimes, Martha said simply. And because showing extra care to others is what makes us human. Grace Wu stepped forward. I can add historical context. Human societies developed courtesy rules to prevent conflict and show peaceful intentions. When a man helps a woman, he's showing that he means no harm. But the opposite interpretation exists, Zexhai pointed out. Controlling another's movement can indicate intent to harm. Martha shook her head. Not with Jake. Watch him carefully. Really watch. Amy had set up a simple demonstration. Jake, could you help Dr. Carter move some equipment to the next room? Jake nodded. He picked up a heavy box of scientific instruments while Dr. Carter gathered her papers. When they reached the door, Jake shifted the heavy box to one arm and reached for the door handle. Wait, Martha said from the screen. Velnara watched Jake's face look at his eyes. Everyone turned to look at Jake. He stood frozen, holding the box, his hand on the door handle. His face showed concentration as he tried to balance the heavy equipment and still open the door for Dr. Carter. See? Martha said softly. Look at his expression. Is that the face of someone trying to control or threaten? Or someone trying to help? Velnara stared at Jake. Her clicking grew softer, more thoughtful. Jake opened the door and waited for Dr. Carter to go through. But then something interesting happened. Dr. Carter stopped and looked back at Jake struggling with the heavy box. Here, let me help, she said, taking one end of the box. Together they carried it through the door. Jake smiled and said, Thanks, Dr. Carter. Thank you for getting the door, she replied. Velnara made a completely different sound, a soft, musical trill that the translator couldn't interpret. What does that sound mean? Grace Wu asked. Zexhai clicked thoughtfully. Confusion, but also curiosity. Velnara observes cooperation rather than dominance. Martha smiled from the screen. That's right, honey. Jake doesn't help people because he thinks they can't do things themselves. He helps because when people work together and care for each other, everyone feels better. But why gender-specific behavior? Zexhai pressed. Why treat females differently than males? Jake finally found his voice. Because my grandmother taught me that protecting and caring for others, especially people who might need it more, is what good people do. Not because women are weak, but because showing extra kindness makes the world better. He looked directly at Velnara. I hold doors for women because I want to show respect. I hold doors for older people because they've earned it. I hold doors for anyone carrying something heavy because it helps. It's not about control, it's about caring. Velnara was very still. Then slowly she approached the door to the hallway. She looked at Jake, then at the door, then back at Jake. Jake understood. Carefully, he walked over and opened the door for her. This time, Velnara didn't freeze. She walked through slowly, her compound eyes never leaving his face. On the other side, she turned around. Why? She asked through the translator. It was the first word she had spoken directly to him. Because I want you to feel welcome here, Jake said honestly. Because you're our guest, and taking care of guests is important to humans. Velnara made that musical trilling sound again, and for the first time since the aliens arrived, Jake thought maybe everything would be okay. Velnara stood in the hallway looking at Jake through the open door. Her musical trilling continued, and Jake could see something changing in her posture. She seemed less stiff, more curious. Velnara wishes to understand, Ambassador Zexhai, translated. The concept of caring for guests requires clarification. Jake's grandmother spoke from the video screen in her warm Texas accent. Honey, when someone visits your home, you take care of them. You make them comfortable. You show them they're welcome. Even if guests are fully capable of self-care? Zexhai asked. Especially then, Martha replied. Taking care of others isn't about their abilities. It's about showing love. The translator struggled with the word love. It came out as static and buzzing sounds. Grace Wu stepped closer to the aliens. In human culture, small acts of service show deep respect and affection. We help each other not because we must, but because we want to. Velnara approached Jake slowly. She studied his face with her compound eyes. Then she made a series of soft clicks and musical trills. She says, Zexhai paused as the translator worked. She says your facial expressions do not match threat patterns. You show care emotions? Yes, Jake said quietly. I do care. About Dr. Carter, about all the people here, and about you and Ambassador Zexhai too. Care about us? Velnara's voice came through her translator. Why? Jake thought about his grandmother's lessons, about everything he had learned growing up in Texas. Because you're here. Because you're real people, real beings. Because you came all this way to meet us, and that makes you special. Dr. Carter moved to Jake's side. This is what makes humans different, isn't it? We care about others we've just met. Indeed, Dr. Johnson added. Human empathy extends beyond family groups, beyond tribes, even beyond species. Ambassador Zexhai made thoughtful clicking sounds. In Krillian society, care is limited to collective members. Outsiders receive equal treatment but not special attention. But that's not how humans work, Amy Rodriguez explained. We give special attention to show honor and respect. Velnara walked back to the door where Jake still stood. She looked at the door, then at him. Demonstrate again, she requested. Jake smiled and opened the door wider. Velnara walked through, but this time she moved at normal speed. On the other side, she stopped and looked back at Jake. I wish to try, she said. Try what? Jake asked. Human caring behavior. I wish to hold, Access way for you. Jake's eyes widened. He walked toward another door in the hallway. Velnara moved quickly with her forearms and pulled the door open before he reached it. After you, Jake Miller, she said, copying the phrase she had heard humans use. Jake walked through, grinning widely. Thank you, Velnara. That was very kind. She made happy trilling sounds. Kind. This means showing care? Exactly. For the next hour, they conducted what Dr. Johnson would later call the most important cultural exchange in human history. Velnara experimented with holding doors, offering chairs, and even bringing people water glasses. Each small act of service made her trill with what could only be described as delight. Ambassador Zexhai watched everything with growing fascination. This behavior serves no survival function, he observed, yet it creates positive responses in all participants. That's the point, Jake's grandmother said from the screen. Being nice doesn't have to serve a purpose beyond making others feel good. Dr. Carter had been taking notes throughout the exchange. Ambassador, what will you report back to your people about human behavior? Zexhai considered the question carefully. That humans possess unique social programming. You have developed complex caring behaviors that extend beyond biological requirements. Is that good or bad? Commander Torres asked. Unknown. But interesting. Very interesting. Velnara had discovered the joy of holding elevator doors for people. Each time someone thanked her, she trilled happily. This creates pleasant sensations, she reported. Caring for others generates positive internal responses. Grace Wu smiled. You're discovering the happiness that comes from making others happy. Happiness, Velnara repeated. This is optimal state for consciousness? One of them, Jake said, and helping others is one of the best ways to find it. The formal negotiations began later that day, but they were different now. The Krillians approached human customs with curiosity instead of suspicion. They wanted to learn about courtesy, about kindness, about the strange human habit of caring for others without expecting anything in return. Your species possesses remarkable social evolution, Zexhai told the human delegation during the talks. You have developed cooperation behaviors that exceed survival requirements. We call it civilization, Commander Torres replied. 3 months later, Jake received a video message at his new job as Cultural Liaison Specialist. On the screen, Velnara stood in what looked like a Krillian building surrounded by other aliens. Greetings, Jake Miller, she said through the translator. I have been teaching your door-holding behavior to young Krillians. Observe. The video showed a group of young Krillians, smaller versions of the adults practicing opening doors for each other. They made happy trilling sounds when they did it successfully. We call it human friendship ritual, Velnara explained. It creates positive emotions and strengthens social bonds. The elders are curious about this new behavior. Jake laughed, with joy. That's wonderful, Velnara. Question, she continued. We wish to learn more human caring behaviors. Can you teach us about birthday celebrations and gift giving and hugging? Jake grinned. His grandmother would be so proud. Not only had he not caused an interstellar incident, he had introduced an entire alien species to the concept of kindness. I'd be happy to teach you all about human caring, he said. It's what we do best. On the screen, Velnara attempted what could only be described as a smile. It looked strange on her insect-like face, but it was unmistakably happy. Then we shall learn to be more human, she said. In the good ways. Jake ended the call and looked out his window at Earth. His grandmother had been right all along. Taking care of others even in small ways really could change the world. In this case, it had changed 2 worlds. The greatest human strength wasn't their technology or their weapons or their intelligence. It was their overwhelming urge to be kind to others, even aliens they had just met. Even aliens who misunderstood them at first. Jake held the door open for Dr. Carter as she entered his office with new reports from the Krillian homeworld. She smiled and said thank you, just like always. Some things, Jake thought happily, should never change. Being kind to others was one of them. And now, somewhere across the galaxy, a group of alien children were learning that taking care of each other was the most human thing of all.